3 erasing words and 1 erasing practice. Chris Voss and his team talk about the word but being an erasing word. They also talk about avoiding what I would call scripts. They call it I'll just being open to anything that might come up in a conversation, is how I remember what they're talking about there. So that last piece about being open, I would add 2 words to that. So I'll talk about the 3 words and the script. So the word but, more appropriately avoided in certain contexts, is where you might, common, unfortunately bad practice, is to sandwich a message starting with praise, sandwiched in the middle of an attack on the person, followed by praise, is a common practice. And so what happens is you might praise a person, say these are all the good things you do, and then you might use a word similar to but. Doesn't have to be strictly or limited to the word but. What happens is the brain turns everything off, goes into defense mode, doesn't hear anything after that. And so it erases everything, and it squashes everything, all the nice things that were said before the word but. So Chris Voss and his team either directly or indirectly found the best way to attack somebody. Chris describes like punching somebody, where if you give somebody a chance to brace, they can be ready for that attack. And the brain is, the way I understand it is, the brain is 3/4 of the amygdala is dedicated to fear of loss. And so so it's best to get the negatives out first and early, get them out of the way, as long as they land softly with an apology before we say something harsh. So the word but is an erasing word, and the other 2 erasing words are I know or I understand. Somebody says I know what you mean, or I know what you want, or the other similar word is I understand. I understand what you mean. I understand. And again, that's in the context of trying to explain a situation, trying to explain what you need, and we got to be careful in what we read coming from the other person. And often when they say they understand or they know, they think they got a green light to, it's a common practice to believe we have the green light to go and do whatever we think the other person needs without gathering more information. sometimes some people will say they understand, though for them, because they're eager to learn more, it seems to mean that they're on the right path. And I've had people who've told me they've understood, though asked me more questions. Unfortunately, that's more rare than common practice. So those are 3 erasing words. And the 4th point is the erasing practice. The practice to have a script, often in sales, sometimes in psychology, and in society, like, and I think that goes back to business and in sales. Often employees are taught to or told what to say, what to think. My common example is A&W seems to teach their staff that if I don't want a bun, it automatically means I get a lettuce wrap. It took me about a year using the Chris Voss skills to figure out how to get the cashier to understand what I needed and to relay that message to the cooks in the kitchen. And I'd hear and watch the cashier tell the cooks that I only wanted meat, and the cooks would say, I understand, and they would give me a lettuce wrap. And I'd hear the cashier telling the cooks meat only, and I'd hear the cook saying I understand, and they might even say meat only, and I'd get a lettuce wrap. So that's an example of a script where employees are told what to think. And so if an example of similar example experiences I've had at U-Haul, where the sounds like the U-Haul staff are told or taught to do whatever they can to get the rented vehicle back as scheduled when scheduled. And so when I had a change of plans outside of Edmonton, I did not know what to say or do to encourage the U-Haul staff to accept that I could not bring the vehicle back, whereby the U-Haul staff repeatedly said that I had to bring the vehicle back. I asked for an apology. I had to get the vehicle back. I tried to make him laugh. I had to get the vehicle back. I asked to talk to somebody else. I had to get the vehicle back. Literally not hearing anything I'd said. Like, the only thing they're allowed to say is that I have to get the vehicle back, no matter how far I might be out of the city. No matter 2 years ago I almost died with a U-Haul pickup I'd rented. Somebody Northern Alberta, in the middle of the bush, somebody unloaded a couch in the middle of the highway in a curve on a hill. Had I swerved, I could have rolled down the hill. Riding off the vehicle, I could have died. I was just lucky. Crazy, I had to drive over the couch in the middle of the highway. And those 2 years ago, they repeatedly blamed and harassed me about about the vehicle. Careless about my life, careless about my safety. And here now, a week ago, Saturday last weekend, I forget which date that was exactly. Saturday last weekend, they insisted I had no choice but to get the vehicle back, like, at any cost. I couldn't get them to understand that. I couldn't. So I think that's a good taking off point to talk about why I couldn't get any therapists to understand that I needed to practice these skills, that I need help practicing the Chris Voss skills so that I can help people hear what I say. And that's actually should be my next point, talking point with my therapist. But how do I get the therapist to hear anything I say if I can't practice the skills to help other people hear what I say? So, scripts erase everything we think we heard, say, hear, knew, think. How do I say thought in future tense? I think that's enough for, I don't know what else to say at this point, at this time. Maybe a quick recap. Three erasing words: but, I know, or I think, or I understand. But, I know, I understand. Context driven. And scripts are 3 erasing words and 1 erasing practice. So better ending is to end on a positive note. Ending on a positive note, it'll take early adopters and it'll take innovators, early adopters, and the early majority. With those, people are quick to adopt new practices, ideas. Will encourage the majority, the greater majority. So I think we can, I think we got this. I think we'll encourage the greater majority before long. On that, I think that's a good point to end on, as we'll encourage the majority of different ideas. Thanks. Good night.